to cut you, but I wanted to get your personal experience with the Secretariat, the Scholarship Secretariat. Like your experience with the application process and how the outcome of it.
Oh, so the application, I think my boss at the time, he shared me the link. It was a WhatsApp message. These opportunities has opened. I should try and apply. So that's why I heard about the get first or not get funded Scholarship Secretariat. So they send a link. Either you apply through that link and send some emails, or you send hard copies of your documents to an office in Accra. So I did both. I did the online application and also have somebody send my documents to the office in Accra. Never heard anything from them, no rejection letter, nothing. And I qualified to have been given I graduated with a first class honors. My transcript was good. I had a viable research plan and research proposal, which I had used to even gain admission to the University of Cape Coast to do a master's. So I don't know, they never got back to me. The story, what I got back was people who went there, some student leaders who had some connections that got to the scholarship. One of them came to tell me, so boy, papers were hard. Yeah.
But how much did the program cost?
The fees was 4,000. Yeah, UCC Masters, 4,000 cedis.
4,000 Ghana cedis.
Yes, it was 4,000 cedis. And at the time, now I can say it's a Nyeska, but 2020 I was in very serious issue that I needed.
This is local. This is also local. This is also local. This is foreign. Side. This is local. Local as well. So I think we should start with this. We should focus on this one.
It's just a single one.
Yeah. Mm. 50,000.
Let's check one.
See.
The name is Akut.
All right. Okay. He has a nice portfolio. Seems like someone who is well accomplished.
Mm-hmm.
And oh, okay. It says here too that he was appointed to the board of the National Health Insurance Authority in 2017.
Wow. This guy can certainly not be a needy person.
He's not a needy person. He doesn't, his portfolio.
You have to be a Ghanaian, and you should have gained an admission into an accredited institution, whether locally or abroad. This was a question I asked during my orientation in 2017. When they were taking me through the kind of selection process, and they were mentioning need. A person has to be a needy person, this. So I asked, how do you sit in Accra and determine who a needy person is? Who a needy person is, where the person resides, let's say, up north or far east. Do you use voodooism? And I realized that it was more based on experience than a more rigorous system. So I began developing a decentralization process. So I know you might have heard. I was the first to introduce the scholarship decentralization application or selection system.
I think that is the most unfortunate way to describe who deserves a scholarship. Because we know that we live in a society where some have and some don't have. So we speak about the haves and the have-nots. And in every society, it is always the collective thinking that opportunities be provided for those who don't have to also be able to survive, thrive, and contribute their quota. And so scholarships should be targeted at them. So when you just say, as you have said, that all you need to be a Ghanaian and to be able to provide evidence of admission, and that should be a basis for you to get a scholarship. I reject that definition because that then creates room for an abuse of the scholarship scheme itself.
So there's always a tie rope between meritocracy and need. Who is the Ghanaian, and how do you describe a needy person under the Ghanaian dispensation? If you want to go by the matrix or the standard of, let's say, we describing public servants as the middle class, it becomes very cagey. Because you know very well how much the middle class is paid. So if you say that we want to go by that criteria, or what matrix are we going to measure need, apart from the ones that usually will come from recommendations or things that we usually cite on social media. And at times you can also get recommendations from opinion leaders or people of influence within the social value chain. So the clergy, the media, traditional authorities, and politicians.
People who are beneficiaries of those scholarships.
How? Can you show me that? Because hardly will you have one person doing two programs at the same time.
We have confirmed some.
One person doing two programs
Two different programs.
at the same time.
For subsequent years.
But
So the person 2019 gets a scholarship, and then 2020 gets a scholarship.
Then if the person has completed, there's a need for further, and we can award.
But even with the example that we give you, she got 2 scholarships in the same year.
The same year.
Yes, and even with this one,
Who is this?
I don't call her. That's the name. And then the name is here again. The same year.
Oh, what if they are twins?
The same name.
But
Same course.
twins bear the same name. So, okay, so this can happen. It is possible, see, this North Carolina. And this way?
University of Hertfordshire.
UK. So it means that is not even possible.
So how is it that the same person then is
You are having a data, but the data is not the source. Okay, it is possible that we might have extracted this for you. Okay, so maybe there could have been a problem with the extraction.
But there's more than one.
It doesn't matter, sweetheart. What I'm saying to you is that one person cannot be in North Carolina and be the same time in the UK.
Well, if one completes one and then pursues another one and is going to add value, that's different. But where you are giving double scholarship, I don't think the law allows us to receive double pay or double salary. The Auditor General will not allow that. Similarly, you cannot receive double scholarship. And again, it boils down to priority. I mean, to what extent are these people, whatever scholarship we are giving for this double scholarship or double programs, going to bring or add to the Ghanaian economy?
given in 2019, 2020 in different schools.
Yeah, but something that the person had done, let's say, completed a bachelor's program and wants to enroll.
2 master's programs.
Yes, it's possible.
These are all requests from students. I've dealt with some. To me, as they want support to start their university education. They cannot afford it. That's just one example. There are several. This one is from a student who is visually impaired, very brilliant. He has tried everything to get the Busa South District Assembly to give him money from the disability component of the Common Fund. They have refused. He is supposed to do political science at the University of Ghana. He is still at home. He has gotten no help. And I'm doing my best to try and raise funds for him so that he can go and begin his degree program. These are the kinds of students who should be getting the scholarships. Students from poor families, poor backgrounds, demonstratedly so, and they are there.
Instead of opening it and allowing, setting up offices and making people share the money for their families and loved ones. But there is nothing brilliant and needy about either Get Fund, GNPC, or Scholarship Secretariat.
Welcome back on the AM show after that exciting conversation with Joyce Bawa Mokhtari. But now we focus on scholarships and getting them in our motherland, Ghana. It would appear from what we've seen year after year that those who have no need of scholarships are the ones who often end up with them, and that those who actually are in dire need do not, cannot access these scholarships. What is the trend? Those who are politically connected, former TESCON members, CEOs, among others, are getting scholarships worth as much as $50,000+. In some instances, multiple scholarships. But the question is, should we go the way the Director General of the Scholarship Secretariat says we should go, have an act stipulating it? How about candidness or candor, honesty? We get into that conversation this morning as we look at that latest expose by the Fourth Estate, Scholarships Bonanza. We get into that conversation with Professor George Prof.Oduro. He's Professor of Educational Leadership at the University of Cape Coast. Prof, good morning.
Thanks to your audience.
I would start from your initial reactions to this. This is not the first time we've had an expose like this, especially over the last 8 years. But how did this strike you, this latest saga?
Well, it is not surprising because of the extreme politicization of the scholarship management, which in a way does not allow rules, criteria to determine who should or who should not get a scholarship. So from that perspective, I don't think that it's surprising. But it is worrying because scholarships are meant to support the needy, those who do not have it, those who are in the area of critical need, critical programs which the state needs, these are the people who should get scholarships. So when I scanned and saw that people who could buy 6 of minibuses for campaign purposes could have their children also benefiting from scholarships. Well, you do not get to it, but are very brilliant, do not get it. Then there's unfairness. So I think that it is unfair. It does not place into reality the justice and freedom which our nation seeks to actually abide by. It raises issues of equity and also undermines the notion of equal opportunity. So it is unfair. That is what I can say.
Where did this problem start? Is it from the standpoint, like you said, because once it's like some people would say, if you allow too much power in the hands of an executive, you just might have someone who will come someday and then abuse that power. Did we not streamline enough from the outset in respect of our scholarships? Is this why we are here? What are the fundamental problems?
Well, let's trace it back to independence, Kwame Nkrumah's day. And Nkrumah provided scholarship, focusing on the needy. And that's the more reason if you take the rural, disadvantaged northern sectors, Nkrumah's concentration was on those people. Nkrumah put in strategy to ensure that critical skills that are needed could not be provided by the state. If anyone has that is an exceptional case, that person could get scholarship. And that has gone on, of course. There were cases of racism and others that came in here and there. But within the past 8 years, this thing has become institutionalized to the extent that I have people who have told me, look, I've been told that if I want a scholarship, I should provide this thing, I should provide card and all those things. And so it is the politicization of something that should have been very normal that is creating the problem. That is where we trace it to. My brother, let me give you an example of myself. I was with the University of Cape Coast, and the universities have this staff development program. Now, educational leadership was a challenge in the country because we did not have people in that area with terminal degrees. My university nominated me, but then what we were told was that the cost was too much. They could not sponsor it. Others were also denied access to that. Fortunately, I got scholarship from Cambridge Commonwealth Trust. And so I had to go. But the scholarship was such that it could not cater for everything. So I had to apply to the university, and the university recommended me for the Ghana Government Scholarship. The award was granted. Now, when they got to know that I had gotten the Cambridge Scholarship, I was called and told that because I had gotten Cambridge Scholarship, it meant that I was in a capacity of benefiting from my education without government support. And that was withdrawn. The Ghana Government Scholarship was withdrawn because of this.
Which year was this?
And that was 1989.
1989, right.
1989. Now, what was done? At that point, I thought I had been cheated because, one, my background was very poor, but then I understood it. That once I have a support from another entity, then opportunity should be given to others who do not have it. I understood it that way. If that principle carried through, then we will find that the poor and those who really need the scholarship will be given. But it's not the case. Now it is purely a political party affair. And I think as a nation, we must stand against that. Make Scholarship Secretariat operate need-based so that those who need it will really have it. Whether look at some ministers, it came out and I'm sure you heard it. Some ministers who were going to Galilee for a program for themselves have to be sponsored with Get Fund money. When universities lack facilities to support even admission, people cannot be admitted. So these are things that I think as a nation we must condemn. And if possible, those people who use their positions to get scholarships for them, well, we should bring one of them to book.
And that is...
It is very greedy to see that someone who openly we know could buy mini buses for campaign purposes to benefit from scholarship. I don't think it is something that.
But you see, the counter argument, and we must really, I want us to address it rather than look at the fluff that would always look at. Okay. They would tell you that these are also Ghanaians, are they not? What makes it, do you find it immoral, and why? Because in your instance, and I completely understand, I have had friends who maybe were going to an institution that required that they pay about 30,000 plus pounds or dollars or euros, and maybe they got funding from one end, and another end had said, if you have any other scholarship, we can't support you, because then you would have two scholarships. In your mind, you would think, oh, but that would allow me to do it, adding both, but someone else will lose on your account. So being Ghanaian, whether they are MPs or ministers, what makes it immoral?
Thank you. What makes it immoral is that we all pay taxes. And it is government responsibility to ensure that every taxpayer gets the fundamental need, survival. Yes. And so if government has used taxes, advanced certain, let's use the urban, to advance urban centers, and you have been privileged to benefit from that spend, which somewhere in the rural area has not been able to benefit from, then on that note, there's some fairness that's the basis of it. So if there is the need for scholarship to support someone to contribute to bridging the gap, the focus should go to where there is less endowment. That is where it should go to.
Where there is greater need.
That is where it should go to. It is true, we are all taxpayers. And my brother, let me tell you, that is the basis upon which the free SHS is suffering now. Because the argument was that the free must go for everybody because we are all taxpayers. That was the argument basis. Now you come to realize that those who have the rich, who have money, the free aspect of the program they are enjoying, the money they take is just, it doesn't go into the education of the children. Yet those who come from deprived context cannot even get money to buy simple books that they need to help them study well. So we find inequities in the system. It is a responsibility of government to ensure that there is equity. If government operates scholarship on the basis that everybody is a Ghanaian, then government is not responding to its responsibility of promoting equity. So that's the basis of which I think that I would draw my conclusion. That argument for me doesn't hold. It's immoral for me.
It's immoral. I will break down into the different facets of this problem, but do you feel, because you made mention of Nkrumah, and of course this started all the way back in 1960, right? And I know of uncles, grand uncles, among others, who traveled to the likes of Germany, Russia around that time because of the thinking of Nkrumah. All of these people benefited. A lot of them came back and contributed to the country. And it wasn't political. Have we then lost the plot, the essence of the scholarship, on the back of what you've heard over years, culminating in what we're discussing now? Have we lost the plot?
We have totally lost it. Totally. Because I know of people who have gone on government scholarships to pursue courses that universities in Ghana are running.
Right.
I know of people who have gone on scholarships to undertake professional development programs that benefit themselves, but not the institution in which they are working. But because of connections, because of political party affiliations, they are able to get that. And so we have totally lost, we've missing the mark. We've really missed the mark as far as scholarship administration is concerned. And for me, I think that the Scholarship Secretariat needs to be overhauled. And
when you say overhauled, when you say overhauled, what do you mean? What specifically do you mean?
Yeah. When I say it should be overhauled, I mean that we need to change the mode of operation at a place. We need to watch who is appointed as the administrator. We do not appoint political extremists as administrators of the Scholarship Secretariat. We should get people who have nationalistic orientation to man that place. That is what I mean by the overhauling. We need a mindset, total mindset change so far as scholarship administration is concerned. And it has not even been at that level. Let me tell you, my brother, Comfort, Comfort supports young girls, needy ones. I was sad when someone came to me complaining that she had been nominated for Comfort Award and that everything was okay, but eventually he couldn't get it. Yet another person whose status, the parents can easily get it, got the support. And the big question is, it's happening. People used not to operate that way. What is happening? So we need a mindset change. Mindset change that will focus on rural, less endowed, needy people, where money should go to compared to those who already have money and can fend for themselves.
I always cite myself as an example. I have benefited from 2 scholarships in this country. One, a cocoa board scholarship. My grandfather was a major cocoa farmer in what we now call the Oti region. And this wasn't even through my senior secondary school days. It was at some point that it came on. And we had, I got to benefit from this briefly. The second one was at the University of Ghana. I was in Spanish class. And of course, you had to be one of the top candidates before you would get the government scholarship. So it wasn't even any grouping, you applying. It was basically your department submitting to the Scholarship Secretariat those who were the highest contenders or those who had, secured the highest scores. And then you would be selected to move forward. It was clear-cut who would benefit. In this instance, you don't even get to know the processes. In fact, I'm looking at the Scholarship Secretariat's website, and it says its main programs and activities fall under the thematic area Human Resource Development, Employment and Productivity, and under the Ghana Shared Growth and Development Agenda, and Goal 4 of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And it goes on and on. And it talks about need-based scholarships. And you ask yourself, where are the need-based people? In previous years, we've looked at lists with people who had no need, and they've been there. And the question is, how can we get here? The head of the Scholarship Secretariat says we need a Scholarships Act. How urgently do we need this, if you agree with him, Prof?
Well, the act is good, but only if the act wouldn't remain a paper. It is human beings who interpret it. If we take what you read website, if we were to go strictly by that, I'm sure the challenge we are talking about now, even if it will be there, it will be minimal. So we can have the act, we can solve it. But if we do not change the mindset, we will not change the mode of appointing scholarship administrators and staff to that sensitive place, the act will remain on paper. It cannot be translated into reality.
Hold for me, Prof.
We also need mindset change.
Right. Just hold for me briefly. Let me bring in Professor Stephen Ade, Emeritus Professor. Prof, good morning.
Good morning.
It's good to have you join this conversation. You yourself had to benefit from certain things to progress in education. You got scholarships, and some of them, I mean, you couldn't attend certain schools back in the day. But looking at scholarships, I just want to start from the start. 1960 and Nkrumah and everything that he did, and how we've ended up here, where scholarships are not going to the poor, but to those who can actually afford it. What do you make of it?
First of all, there are always two types of scholarships. One is merit-based, and the other is means-tested one. So I think that always, in America and the Arab, there are some people who may be rich, but then will get a scholarship because of their merit and the rest. And then there are those which are means-tested. So also in Ghana, you have the two. But you haven't distinguished them. And that sometimes is where the trouble is, in the sense that there must be a distinction between those which are purely competitive and those which are means-tested. And when that is not done, then confusions arise.
We have these two groups, but at least as far as the Scholarship Secretariat is concerned, it focuses on need-based scholarships. And of course, there's the other end, like for my end, where it was more based on merit. For the need-based quotient, if you look at the facts, the figures, and those who are getting them, former TESCON members, leaders of TESCON, the MPP's tertiary arm, CEOs, people who show clearly that they do not have this need. And you look at the quantum of money involved, in some instances as much as $50,000+. When you have very needy, very brilliant young people, some from rural areas, trying to make a headway, and they can't get these same scholarships, per what the Fourth Estate is telling us, are we then getting it right, or are we losing the plot?
First of all, I'm not sure that the Scholarship Secretariat may operate a need-based scheme. I don't know about it. But it stands to reason that if there are two people and one is able to afford it, then it's consideration. But I don't think that formally the Scholarship Secretariat operates a need-based scheme, number one. Number two, of course, we have had a problem for many years, which gets worse with the years, whereby this idea of protocol And by means of protocol, you are talking about privileged people, either by status, political connection, money, or whatever it is. And I think that that is a pain of Ghana in the sense that now the political and class especially, and those who have made it or have benefited from the system are now making themselves a class to even benefit more. And that is unfortunate because it is now making the deprived more deprived because of that. And it is on there in admission to secondary schools and all of them. So it is an unfortunate phenomenon which has become almost part of our system. And it is regrettable.
And it especially becomes even more crucial a topic. I have a message here from a gentleman who says, I personally applied for this same scholarship, went through the processes, because sometimes we think it's all international, Cambridge and all of that. Local ones. I personally applied for this same scholarship, went through processes successfully, but they didn't pay the fee. So this person was offered the scholarship, 2020 to 2021, at the Takrady Technical University, Plumbing and Gas Technology at the Faculty of Built and Natural Environment. I am a victim. I wrote back to the Secretariat, copied the District Assembly and the Western Regional Minister. Nothing came out of it. I applied with a second-class upper at TTU. Then you look at the situation of the lady whose story the Fourth Estate shared. And here she was, rural part of Ghana, made it excellent grades at university, wanted to further her studies. She was, the board was thrilled with her presentation. She was practically through. And then when, after a while, she didn't hear from the Secretariat, went there and she was told that, oh, there's protocol and MPs and ministers will bring in this and that from different places. And so protocol had to take precedence. When the Secretariat says on its page, it's there to build manpower for our economy. I don't get it, but then how do we save our scholarships? Beyond the act, how do we do it?
Well, first of all, let me clarify two things which I don't want to be associated with. The fact that somebody told her that she was on the list is not something that one can vouch. Because it's a corridor talk. So there's no evidence to that effect. But the issue that this thing is happening, that those vulnerable are being denied despite their achievements and the rest are true. And I think that something must be done about it, and society must rise against this phenomenon.
Prof.
Somebody was suggesting that there should be a law. I don't think that the law will make a difference. It has to do with making the system transparent. Those who apply, those who were awarded, must be published. And this is the type of information that I expect the media people to be insisting upon because of the especially the information bill. I think that this thing must be made public, and then we can name and shame people who are doing those things. So long as we don't do that. So I don't think the legal issue, it must be transparency and publishing all those who get the scholarship to be published. And the media people can help greatly by insisting that that is done. And then when we see it as people are alleging, play, and other people, ministers and others having their children, then the Ghanaian public will react.
So Prof. Adai, you say they must be punished. There's a reason we are not putting out names this morning. The Fourth Estate has already put out names. A former IGP's daughter, a CEO, this person, that person. We all know those people. But do you think as part of that punishment, people in power, people who have the resources, who go through these systems and benefit from need-based scholarships, should they be made to pay back, do you think?
Well, technically, first of all, they said they will be shamed. I think that later you cannot do anything at all because so long as the scholarship is not means tested and they are Ghanaians, you cannot do anything about it. These are the type of things when it's a naming and shaming and hope, but I don't think that they have done something illegal. They have been immoral, and that is a different one. You cannot punish them for that. I mean, for example, you believe it that my son went to beg, and I volunteered, and my friend was the vice chancellor. I was then rector of Impact, but I said that I would like to pray for him. And I paid for my son while he was even entitled to a government scholarship. So it's a moral issue. And I'm wondering whether on a moral issue you can punish or take the people to court. That is not the. I think that when the list is published, in fact, if they know that the list will be published, there are some people who will not even go for it.
Prof. Well, they still go for it. And of course, you've seen some of the names in the past. Prominent members of parliament, ministers, and people who walk the corridors of power and those connected to them. Any final words, Prof, if you have?
Well, I would say that they are alleged. That's why the court estate should go for the list and publish the list. The thing is that in Ghana, we are not naming and shaming people. And that is why these things are done quietly. This has come out because the people have, this girl has spoken up. But I think that it's unfortunate that the spirit that we had in Ghana, whereby the rich care for the poor, seems to be lost. And the rich are looking to be richer. It's unfortunate. But this is not a legal issue, it's a moral issue. And moral issues must be countered by moral repugnance rather than naming and shaming.
Thank you, Prof, for having joined this all-important conversation. We're grateful for your time. That is Professor Stephen Adey, Professor Emeritus. And we were also joined by Professor George Prof.Oduro, Professor of Educational Leadership, University of Cape Coast. This conversation, well, it's out there now. It's up to you. Does it make any sense how we're administering these scholarships? The head says, legislate on it. Let's have a scholarship act. But when you have a visually impaired student striving for academic excellence, and that person will not get it, and a fully abled person in different contexts, well-to-do, will get it, then I guess at some point we have to sit down as a country and ask ourselves whether we're doing the right thing. Stay with us on the AM show. We'll be back with more.